And it came out recently that Bernard privately has been telling the Biden campaign, Iceberg, right ahead. Love that graphic, it never gets old. Bernie Sanders is privately expressing concerns about Joe Biden's presidential campaign, according to 3 people with knowledge of the conversations, and is urging Biden's team to intensify its focus on pocketbook issues and appeals to liberal voters. Sanders, the runner-up to Biden in the Democratic primaries, has told associates that Biden is at serious risk of coming up short in the November election if he continues his vaguer, that's being generous, more centrist approach, according to the people who spoke on the condition of anonymity. So, let me explain how this works. Bernie's an altruistic guy, but Bernie knows politics. They leaked this to the Washington Post. They wanted this out there as kind of a FU to Biden. The senator has identified several specific changes he'd like to see, saying Biden should talk more about health care and about his economic plans, and should campaign more with figures popular among young liberals like AOC. Asked for comment, Sanders' team provided a statement from Fez Shakir, the senator's campaign manager in the presidential race, saying that Sanders is, quote, working as hard as he can to get Biden elected, but has advised some strategic adjustments. Quote, Senator Sanders is confident that Biden is in a very strong position to win the election, but nevertheless feels there are areas the campaign can continue to improve on, Shakir said. He has been in direct contact with the Biden team and has urged them to put more emphasis on how they will raise wages, create millions of good-paying jobs, lower the cost of prescription drugs, and expand health care coverage. Shakir said Sanders also thinks that a stronger outreach to young people, the Latino community, and the progressive movement will be of real help to the campaign. I don't think Bernie Sanders is doing this unless Bernie Sanders thinks there's a genuine chance Biden's going to lose. If Bernie Sanders felt confident that Biden was going to win, I don't think he's leaking this to the Washington Post. And by the way, this is what happens. I mean, Bernie's confidants aren't willy-nilly going to talk to the Washington Post unless he wants to get a point across. And there's a difference between privately getting a point across to the Biden campaign and making it go through in the media that gets them paying attention. And frankly, not happen. I think a few things. Number one, I think Bernie, I understand why he's being diplomatic. I understand why he's saying, oh, no, I think Biden's in a good position, blah, 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 blah. Because Bernie don't want to be blamed. Bernie don't want to be Ralph Nadered, But at the end of the day, if Bernie thinks Donald Trump is an existential threat to the nation and that democracy itself is on the line and we got to elect Joe Biden and democracy is going down like the Titanic, I think he needs to raise the fire alarm a little louder so that people in the back can hear it. I'm happy that he leaked this to the Washington Post. He went on MSNBC. He cleaned it up a little bit to be like, no, of course it's not true. But then cited all the things that Biden is doing wrong. But, at the end of the day, I don't think Biden or his campaign are going to listen to a damn thing Bernie says or the progressive movement says, because they literally get a kick out of on the progressive movement. They literally have disdain for progressives. They have disdain for working people, frankly. They dress it up and pretend that Biden is a man of the working, is a man of, unions and is middle-class Joe and all this nonsense. He's not. I mean, his record is his record. I've gone through with it. I've gone through his record exhaustively here. But you don't want to give them the opportunity to blame it on you if he loses. And the way you do that is by screaming, from the rooftops, you're going to lose if you don't do these things. Because when he loses, that's when you say, I told you so. I said all these things loud and proud. I urged you to cater to X, Y, and Z. The numbers will be there to back it up. If Biden loses, It's going to be because the same reasons Hillary Clinton lost. He's not going to have the black voters show up in the numbers he needs. He's not going to have the Latinos show up in the numbers he needs. And he's not going to have age 18 to 29 show up in the numbers he needs. So if Bernie starts screaming it now, they can't do what they did in 2016 and blame him, because he will have very credible I told you so points. Biden's not doing so hot among Latinos. Trump is doing a significantly better than he did among Latinos in 2016. Trump is actually, surprisingly, I think he's over 10% among black voters. Donald Trump. So I say, Bernie, don't, I don't know the analogy, but it's good that you're kind of speaking up, but speak up a little louder. Because honestly, if they don't listen to you, then you have to start wondering, are they trying to actually win this election? Because people who want to win do whatever the hell it takes to win. They could see the data. I don't know what data they're looking at if they think in the two pots of voters that there's more voters in the moderate Republican pot than voters in the Latino, young black, young white, and progressive bucket. That's just, there's no data that supports that. There is, they called Bernie's strategy in the primary naive, that he was going to expand the electorate. It is naive to think you're going to suddenly convert, millions of Republicans, moderate Republicans, which is not even a thing anymore, over to vote for Joe Biden. That is naive and suicidal, frankly. By the way, that's why it's even close in these battleground states, because they've taken this approach of catering to moderate Republicans, which is pretty much depressing interest, support, and it seems we'll see about turnout among young people, young black people, young Latino, and independents that lean towards the progressive side. So I'm glad Bernie kind of came out of the political witness protection program a little bit. I'm glad that privately and then publicly kind of called out Biden on these things. But I'd like to hear it a little louder. So instead of saying, I'd like to hear him talk about healthcare a little more, how about saying, what is your plan? Because we heard him say public option during the primary. Notice in his speech during the DNC convention, he didn't mention the public option. All he talked about was expanding Obamacare. That's deliberate. He hasn't really been talking about healthcare much. I get his emails, I see his speeches, he ain't talking about it. It's Joe, give the people who've lost their jobs and have no healthcare, tell them what you're going to do for them immediately. First 100 days, what are you going to do so that they have healthcare? So that it doesn't bankrupt them. Specifics. Make it simple. What are you going to do to hold corporations accountable that are laying people off and not bringing those jobs back? Yet continue not to pay any taxes and give themselves bonuses to their CEOs. What are you going to do? Biden has vaguely referenced like taxing or a penalty to companies that offshore jobs. Okay, that's a start. But what are you going to do to actually create the conditions so that they start actually creating jobs here? So we'll see. I am not holding my breath, but we shall see. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.